We let know the journalists that we announced to the media that only 4 questions will be accepted, 2 from the American press and 2 from the local press. Journalists will be called by name and media outlet. Now we pass the word to His Excellency Frank Abrego, Minister of Security of Panama. Good afternoon. Honorable Mr. Peter Hegseth, Secretary of Defense of the United States of America, Honorable Mr. Alvin Holsley, Commander of the Southern Command, representative of the Government of Panama and the Embassy of the United States, media, ladies and gentlemen, today, as part of the framework of the Conference of Central America, we are here to highlight again that we have sat down here that will continue during the afternoon hours, because we live in an era where threats are not limited only to physical territories, but also we face transporter threats that adapt to any cities, such as criminal entities that operate in networks, cybernetic threats that are there in silence, and also, security is a regional challenge, and that's the reason why we have gathered here from different representatives of Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Honduras, Panama, Colombia, precisely to talk about the shared experiences and what we can learn from each other, and at the end, continue fighting with a single strategy and a single north towards the security of our region and to the hemisphere, the American hemisphere. Exactly as the Secretary has mentioned before, we're a single continent, we're just a single America, and therefore we must be together and fight organized crime in any of the different phases that arise in our societies and our countries. Thank you. Again, Honorable Pete Hegseth will share his word, Secretary of State of Defense of the U.S.
Good afternoon. It's a privilege to be here in Panama. Minister Abrego, thank you for an incredibly productive visit. The same goes for our friend, President Molino. President Molino and his administration are a great ally of the United States. We are deeply grateful for the friendship of our Panamanian counterparts, your partnership and your leadership here in Panama and across the region. We face shared security challenges and common threats. Together, we will deter them by increasing our defenses and achieving peace through strength. Since President Trump was elected, our 2 nations have done more to strengthen cooperation in a few months than we have in decades. And President Molino, who we met with earlier, we have you to thank in large part for that as well. We're partnering closely in 3 areas. First, securing our borders and stopping mass illegal migration. What Panama has done in the Darien Gap is incredible. Crossings down 99% since a year ago. Second, we're countering violent cartels and criminal enterprises. And third, we're securing the Panama Canal and countering China's malign influence. The Panama Canal is key terrain that must be secured by Panama with America and not China. To that end, that is why the United States and Panama have just signed a memorandum of understanding on cooperative security activities, and will be signing, just moments after this press conference, a joint declaration with the Minister of Canal Affairs on the security and operation of the Panama Canal, which is a framework for U.S. warship and auxiliary ships to sail first and free through the Panama Canal. These documents reaffirm our historic ties and outline how we will deepen our relationship and strengthen bilateral canal security cooperation. It also builds on the great work started by our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and his team. This memorandum of understanding will increase joint training, exercises, operations, and overall interoperability between our two forces, reestablishing rotational and joint presence at Fort Sherman, Rodman Naval Station, and Howard Air Force Base. At Fort Sherman, reviving the Jungle School alongside Panamanian forces. Our expanded security relationship will also enhance cyber cooperation, information sharing, bilateral security dialogues, and canal infrastructure improvements. These steps are going to help Panama deter and counter malign activity in the areas surrounding the canal. Our countries reaffirmed our shared commitment to protecting Panamanian sovereignty from malign influence. And we recognize the foundational importance of our constitutional governments, including respect for our neutrality treaty. We've also been working closely with the Panama Canal Authority, and we will further increase our cooperation with each other. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is one example. They were critical in building the canal over 120 years ago and have partnered closely with the Canal Authority for many years. The Canal Authority will continue to pay the Corps of Engineers for their expertise and technical support. This will help ensure the canal's long-term sustainability. And this summer, the USNS Comfort, a naval hospital ship, will visit Panama and provide medical help and deepen bilateral relationships between our service members and our people. Beyond our important bilateral relationship with Panama, I'm proud to be here to participate in the Central America Security Conference. So thank you again, Minister Abrego, Admiral Halsey, Commander of U.S. Southern Command, doing a fantastic job for convening this important regional security forum. It was great to meet so many partners earlier this morning and last night and hear how we are working together, training together, and exercising together. In fact, right now, partnering with Panama, we have 2 cruisers, 2 USS Coast Guard cutters, F-18 fighters, a U.S. Marine Corps infantry company, over 1,000 U.S. troops supporting partner operations in Panama. Together with Panama, we're focused on strengthening our security cooperation and countering malign influence. The security of our hemisphere is a top priority for the United States Department of Defense. Our mission is simple: achieve peace through strength through an America First approach. As I've said before, America First does not mean America alone. Rather, putting America first, a phrase coined by President Trump and advanced in our interests, means making our alliances and partnerships make sense for the American people and our friends. As he says, it's common sense. In this region, as we put America first, we are putting the Americas first as well. We're doing this by confronting shared threats and shared challenges in this hemisphere, starting, as President Trump has led the way, by securing our southern border, getting 100% operational control. Because border security is national security, and it starts at home. We're doing this by stopping illegal migration, destroying transnational cartels and gangs, and ending the era of capitulation to coercion to the communist Chinese. As I said yesterday, we are helping to take back the Panama Canal from communist Chinese influence. Like our partners across Central America and South America, the United States wants a hemisphere that is secure, prosperous, and full of sovereign nations. This is not about globalism or foreign adventurism. This is a golden age of clear-eyed Americanism and shared national interests. We want this to be a golden age for our countries together and for this hemisphere. We want In short, not only to make America great again, but to make the Americas great again. And we will achieve these goals together, standing shoulder to shoulder with our allies and partners, with President Trump leading the way. So again, I want to thank President Molino, Minister Abrego, for being valued partners and for hosting us in your beautiful country. And with that, we look forward to your questions.
We appreciate the words of Secretary of Defense of the United States, Mr. Hegseth. Thank you for your remarks. At this time, we open the floor to questions to the media. Right now, we have Mr. Adolfo Berríos from La Estrella de Panamá.
Buen día.
Good day.
Señor Secretario de Defensa,
Mr. Secretary of Defense, you mentioned the U.S. troops that are helping the Panamanian forces, and the memorandum talks about increasing bilateral activities. The joint announcement in English makes no mention of Panama's sovereignty over the canal. So the U.S. recognized Panama's sovereignty over the canal, and if there are plans from the U.S. to maintain a permanent military presence in Panama beyond the current cooperation and training.
Appreciate the question.
Yeah, guys.
We certainly understand that the Panama Canal is in Panama, and protecting Panamanian sovereignty from malign influence is important, which is why when President Trump says we're taking back the Panama Canal from Chinese influence, that involves partnership with the United States and Panama. And we're grateful that they've welcomed U.S. troops on Panamanian soil by invitation through rotational joint exercises. And that's what you'll see in the Memorandum of Understanding, is an opportunity to revive, whether it's the military base, naval air station, locations where U.S. troops can work with Panamanian troops to enhance capabilities and cooperate. In a rotational way, we welcome the opportunity to have an increased troop presence here alongside the Panamanians to secure the sovereignty of the Panama Canal. Ultimately, we look forward to a long relationship with the country of Panama, and that would be in deliberation with the leadership of Panama.
Well, thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Two parts, if I may. Number one, the Chinese responded quite aggressively to your trip, saying, well, accusing the U.S. of blackmail. So I thought I'd just ask you, have you blackmailed anyone? And, Minister, do you feel blackmailed at all? My second question is for the Minister about Taiwanese sovereignty. This country has ceased to recognize Taiwan since 2017. Did Taiwan come up in your conversations this week? And is that something you'll pursue again? Thank you.
I don't know anything about blackmail, appreciate the question, but I do know about strength. Peace through strength and deterrence. You're seeing strength from President Trump with tariffs, with reciprocal tariffs, recognizing that he's willing to protect American industries and American workers from unfair trade practices that have existed for decades, and no one stood up on behalf of America. President Trump is doing that in real time right now. And at the Defense Department, whether it was our trip to the Indo-Pacific, in the Philippines, Japan, and Guam, and elsewhere, or here in the Panama Canal, and with our Panamanian partners, we're standing up to malign Chinese influence and simply saying a strong America that deters that influence in our own backyard, in our hemisphere, is good for us, good for our partners, and creates opportunities for freedom in the future. So again, this is not about, we want peace. We seek peace. We don't seek conflict. But we believe that conflict does not come the stronger we are. And we're happy to speak it clearly, which President Trump has always been willing to speak that clearly, which is why we point out here clearly the malign influence of the communist Chinese and their attempt to leverage it in the Panama Canal or Panama Canal area, which does not serve Panamanian interests or American interests. And that's something we will stand up for every day.
Continuamos con las preguntas y es la
We
oportunidad
continue
del
with
periodista
questions.
Juan
Now we
José
have Juan Jose Rodriguez
AFP.
from Media AFP.
Hola,
Good
quería
afternoon.
preguntarle al
I
señor
wanted to
secretario.
ask
Allá en
Secretary.
Estados Unidos se emitió un
Yesterday,
comunicado
the
donde
press
habla de
released
first and fast,
and talked about
referente a un posible acuerdo
an
para
agreement
que
of
los buques de la Marina
an
de
agreement
Estados
to
Unidos
for the
no
passage of
paguen
warships
los
to
peajes cuando pasan por
not
el canal de
pay
Panamá. Yo quería
when they
preguntarle
cross
si
the Panama
realmente
Canal.
ha habido un
I wanted
acuerdo
to
entre
ask
Panamá
if there
y
has
Estados
been an
Unidos
agreement
para
between
que
Panama and the
efectivamente
U.S. to
los buques de la
effectively
Marina de Estados Unidos no paguen peaje,
waive
o que
those
Panamá les devuelva
payments to Panama
ese
when
dinero
these
que
warships
vienen a
cross,
través de compras
or
de
if Panama
material
has to return
o
that
otras,
payment
otro tipo de
through
medidas. Y en
purchasing
ese
materials
caso,
or anything
si
from the
esto no
U.S.
quedaría
In
en
that
el
case,
espíritu
if this
de los
wouldn't that break the spirit of the neutrality treaties?
Appreciate the question. We're calling it, and we said in our statement yesterday, first and free. First and free for U.S. and Panamanian vessels, military and auxiliary vessels. In partnership, that's why after this we're signing with the Minister of Canal Affairs, but it is in keeping with the understanding of the Panama Constitution, with the authorities of the Panama Canal. So we've worked directly with Panamanian leadership, with the Canal Authority, to make sure it's arranged in such a way that it is first and free and is in keeping with their understanding. And that we'll be signing that framework, which is what it is today, a framework right after this press conference with the Minister of Canal Affairs. But it was important to us that in moments of contingency, our troops can travel first and free. We're grateful that our Panamanian partners are working with us on that. Absolutely. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Secretary Hegseth, did you provide assurances that the United States would not intervene militarily to take over the Panama Canal, or is that contingent on what happens with Chinese presence here in Panama? And your top general in Europe said yesterday the United States should keep its military presence on the continent as it is now. Do you agree? And are you considering relinquishing the SACEUR post to a non-American? And to Minister Abrego, would Panama accept a permanent deployment of U.S. troops or the establishment of a permanent U.S. military base on Panamanian soil? And if not, why not? Thanks.
I would just start by saying the only person that will make a determination about force structure of U.S. troops in Europe will be President Trump, the Commander-in-Chief. And we will continue to have ongoing discussions, including inside the context of Ukraine-Russia negotiations, of what our force posture should be on the continent. That best addresses American interests and ensures burden sharing in Europe as well. To the question about Chinese influence, we are focused on working together with our Panamanian partners to ensure that malign Chinese influence is not allowed to take any additional hold and is in fact expelled from the Panama Canal and the Panama Canal area. And they've been very fruitful conversations. I don't know if the minister has.
Yes, good afternoon. Again, we want to establish or to say that Panama absolutely during this memorandum of understanding has given any sovereignty of the Panama Canal or any of the adjacent zones. Panama is within the framework of the neutrality treaty, and based on that part of the constitution, the U.S. has managed himself with respect. We just heard the secretary say that he will have a meeting with the minister of the canal. He already had it in the past with the administrator of the Panama Canal, searching for the correct way to not go against the neutrality treaty or the Panamanian Constitution. That has been established. So Panama mentioned through, or the Panama's president mentioned that we cannot accept military bases or defense bases. We are clear that we need to keep a cooperation in terms of security with the U.S. and with the U.S. military, and that's something that keeps happening. It's an ongoing exercise. It has been over 18 years that we have had ongoing exercises with the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Army. So this is not new. We understand that based on international media and what has taken place, that it becomes a hot trend. But maybe we want, and also we want to know a little bit more. But in this sense, our President Molino established yesterday in his press communication and with Mr. Secretary Hegseth in that private meeting they had, he acknowledged the sovereignty of Panama over the Panama Canal, and he acknowledged that the neutrality treaty has to be respected in our constitution as well, just as we respect the constitution of the U.S. and their laws when we address any type of negotiation. All this has been written down in documents that will become public. And there is nothing under the table. There is nothing in hiding. Everything will be out there and available for anyone who wants to read it. Thank you.
What the minister has said is what the media tries to do very hard is to divide us. And what we call that in the States, Mr. Minister, is fake news. So, thank you.
De esta manera damos por finalizada esta
We wrap up this press conference. Thanks to everyone for joining us and have an awesome afternoon.